What is up, everybody? Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization, and I am the board chair of the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora, or whatever way you want to say it, that are doing their thing in food, drink, and travel. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Sunday, a dark and dreary Sunday here afternoon in Toronto, like a day of night with light rain. Give you that weather forecast. And as always, as we do on Sunday afternoons around 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we do Black Canada Talking, and Black Canada Talking is a live event where we give Black Canadians a platform to express their POVs and takes on things of importance to them nationally, community-wise, or internationally, or we focus on great people, great Black Canadians that you need to know about. But today we're doing another panel discussion. We have 2 out of our 4 regular panelists here today. We do not have Elle Jones. She is a little bit tied up, and so is Warren Clark, but we're speaking. They're doing all right. We are blessed to have Sarah Onyango and Ceasar. So let's do Sarah first. How are things, Sarah, in Gatineau?
Things are dreary and rainy, but happy Caribbean Heritage Month. Yes, October is Caribbean Heritage Month.
Wonderful.
So I'm wearing my St. Lucian madras.
Nice. Have you had time to relax after the elections going on? Have you caught up yet?
No, because when you work in media and in political media at that, you're going straight from the election to whatever's next, right? And we're going to be talking about one of the events that happened next, Annamie Paul's resignation.
Yes,
so,
and
I'm looking forward to this discussion. Should be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And also today, the Toronto Star interviewed Elizabeth May.
Oh my Lord!
So I'll be pulling some of the comments from that article there. But let's also get Ceasar, who is back in Ottawa with his fresh internet, and as you notice, his infamous and great little picture is still behind him, but it's a little bit higher up.
That's right. We just moved in yesterday, and still rushing in terms of organizing, and it's okay. Next show, everything will be properly fixed, but we had to make sure that the background is still speaking Pan-Africanism. And as always, like I say, let us dare to be unapologetically Black and to show it. Yeah. So no, I'm good. Thank you so much, Dr. Vibe. Thank you, Sarah Onyango. Thank you to BIA Media for having me here. Back to the capital city of Ottawa, where a lot of things happen. Of course, a lot of things happen everywhere, but it's called the capital city for a reason.
Yes.
And yeah.
All right.
Still looking at continuing the great work. I just want to give a very quick shout out to our CEO, Katia Peters, for her great work, notably in becoming a certified trauma-informed professional.
Oh.
I don't want to say too much because it's more for her to say that, but take a moment in saying that because absolutely we need to get past this taboo of not addressing mental health, of not addressing trauma, of not addressing the very consequences of systemic racism, but as well of slavery and colonization upon the minds of Black people, because resilience is great, but it's important to heal as well.
Yes, I think all 3 of us can relate that resiliency can take it out of you. Yeah. Being resilient all the time,
it becomes a burden.
Absolutely, and we have to deal with it almost all the time.
Yes. Just ask Annamie Paul.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Excellent example. And like to say, and I'm going to ask a favor of you, Ceasar. Is there any way either you could get me in contact with Katia, or if you can ask her, we would love to have her come on and spend some time with us.
Absolutely.
if we can do that, I'd really appreciate. She is someone that definitely needs to be highlighted for all the great work, or no, I'd say great passion. I don't think it's work; it's heart work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not work; it's heart work that she does, not hard work, but heart work that she does. So if you could help me with that, I know our whole audience would really be appreciative.
Absolutely, I will let her know.
All right. Well, we've mentioned this lady's name a few times, so let's get at it. Annamie Paul resigned since the last time we've had everyone together, and not a surprise, but sad, very, very sad. And I know Sarah is chomping at the bit to get in at this, and Sarah's got her finger up. So Sarah, I'm parting the way for you. Come on in.
All right, let's get right into it. And sad, but necessary and inevitable. I mean, that press conference on Monday, those of us in political media were all, oh my, it was sort of, the worst kept secret, and everybody was expecting it. She was defeated. She came fourth. And this was the third time in 3 years that she was running against Marcian, right? And her campaign had mostly been in the GTA. She barely went outside of the GTA, Ontario for that matter. She went out once towards the end to PEI, I believe, in the Maritimes. And even at that, no Greens were elected out there. The only Green elected outside of Ontario was Elizabeth May out in BC. One other Green was elected in Ontario, the first Green elected to the House of Commons in Ontario. But I mean, this quote that this quote that she said really just got to me. What people need to realize is that when I was elected, I was breaking a glass ceiling. What I didn't realize at the time is that I was breaking a glass ceiling that was going to fall on my head and leave shards of glass that I was going to have to crawl over throughout my time as leader. And I'm sure there are a lot of Black women leaders, Black leaders, Blacks in authority who have had that same thing happen to them. Apparently, she didn't have the kind of budget that warranted traipsing across the country the way Trudeau was doing in his jet, the way O'Toole was doing in his jet, and the way Jagmeet was able to do, not always with a jet. He was trying to be a little greener. But yeah, so already budget-wise, it just wasn't possible. And then they didn't have a full slate of candidates. Right?
They didn't. I know that.
They did not. They had 100 out of 338 or something like that. So that doesn't really warrant, traipsing up and down across the country. Meanwhile, you are trying to get your own seat in Toronto Centre and not getting the support from the leadership. In fact, the leadership, instead of supporting you in your bid to get elected, are busy trying to figure out how they are going to depose you as leader. So, in that sort of circumstance, in that kind of environment, I'm even surprised she didn't throw in the towel like way before Election Day and, way before that press conference. However, I do understand why she stuck to it. She has supporters. And what example would that set to other Black women and other Black people who may one day be wanting, to aspire? I'm going to stop there and let Ceasar comment. And also, Ceasar, I want to hear what you think about Elizabeth May's very hypocritical comments that I heard today. I was beyond livid.
Please say the comments, Sarah, for everyone so that they can know.
No, she was talking about how Annamie Paul is hurting the Green Party. Excuse me, Elizabeth May, you hurt the Green Party all by yourself. And, that element in the leadership, which I understand includes someone she's very close to. Hello. Who were, among the ringleaders trying to scrape Annamie out of leadership. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of things that happen that we're not privy to. We don't know everything, that's for sure. And I'm sure Annamie Paul has a style that not everybody likes. But one thing I know for sure, some white folks don't like assertive Black women. And assertive Black women in leadership, they like that even less, especially when they are a white male person. I will stop there.
What can I say? Look, let me start by first acknowledging that, yes, indeed, Annamie Paul can have a leadership style that is unorthodox to some of these more traditional, I don't want to say conservative because we're talking about the Green Party, but you know what I mean by more orthodox. We can criticize some of her strategy. We can, of course, go back to that Israel-Palestine debacle. I keep saying it. It's kind of, how do you call that? It's a trap, as Black people, especially leaders, to engage in that Israel-Palestine debate. We have nothing to gain. We have nothing to gain whether we choose to support one or the other side. At the end of the day, they don't divide themselves over us. They don't pay a penalty for supporting us or not supporting us, especially. But beyond that said, the truth of the matter is this. Annamie Paul, our sister Annamie Paul, was basically, indeed, she broke a glass ceiling, but at the same time, she was in a situation of, some would say, privilege as first Black, and I should add, Black female party leader, federal party leader, but truthfully, she was basically set up to fail, if I can put it that way. The conditions, the parameters of her situation were already set to fail from the very moment that her own seat, in order to be viable in Parliament, competing in Toronto Centre, was not guaranteed. Let us dare to be honest that when it comes to political parties in terms of elections and ridings, there are those who are privileged who will be put in a place where the nomination is already a given. If we dare to be honest, what was so hard for Elizabeth May to graciously retire, as has already been in the conversation, and for Annamie Paul to even run in that riding to ensure the honor of a new party chief to be guaranteed that she will be elected, versus throwing her in a riding that will be challenged, contested, with a likeliness of causing an embarrassment, not so much to Annamie Paul. We have to be careful here. And I'm not saying that because I'm Black, I'm Pan-Africanist, whatever. No. It's an embarrassment to the Green Party that their own elected leader, because 10 years, 20 years, 50 years from now, nobody will care about the internal fighting. It will just be listed in the books. The leader of the party did not get elected in her own riding. So it becomes a shame to the party as a whole. So now that I've said that, because the other party leaders, they would have never put, what's his name? Prime Minister Trudeau was elected in Papineau in Montreal. They would have never put him somewhere where he may have been defeated by the Bloc. That such embarrassment would not have happened. Besides saying that, something that, however, has to be said for me is the lack of support. That it's not as Black people we saw a lack of support for her. I think everyone, whites included, clearly saw that the Green Party as a unit was not united. I don't know if it's so much that Palestine-Israel situation, but it became so apparent. And when we look at a pandemic situation, we look at an incoming economic recession, yes, all the care and concern for the environment, but I remember there was a CBC footage where some of the people interviewed said it straight up: the Green is not going to make the government, nor make the opposition. So why even bother? So she was kind of like it was in French we say cadeau empoisonné. It was basically a poison gift because yes, you make the history books, you basically have a spotlight on you for a year, and I'm not saying for her to take any type of shame. There's no shame to have in what happened to her. There is also no stigma. But as a Black professional, as a Black activist, as a Black community leader, if there's one thing we know for sure, whether it's for good or bad, whether we're talking about Annamie Paul or we're talking about former Senator Meredith, it always falls back on all of us as Black people. And that becomes my problem when so many of the issues, I'm not saying she should have retired before. I understand the logic of hope. My wife actually helped me to see that she did better in that second French debate and the English debate than at first I deemed her to have done. So I'm not saying she should have retired before, but I know one thing, this is not good in terms of Black leadership in white institutions. It's really not good. For all that, I definitely agree that she was set up to fail from within her party. And that becomes the biggest problem. And that set up to fail does include racism, but also includes stereotyping regarding Black leadership, and especially Black women leadership. I'm sorry to say this for Miss Annamie Paul. Her Jewish identity absolutely did not matter. She was seen and treated as a Black woman first and period.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point that you made. Both of you made very strong points. I'm just going to read one or two lines from the article in today's Toronto Star that Elizabeth May had to say. Ms. May was a former leader of the party. She's saying, quote, "It appears to me that Ms. Paul expected her role to be similar to that of a CEO chair following the American business model, and that she demanded relatively autocratic powers along those lines." Well, yeah, if you're like you're the party leader, but I guess the Green Party, from what I say, maybe is a little bit different, but you don't, well, if you don't have people following you, you're not going to have much of a leadership. I don't know.
Elizabeth May is one to talk. I'm sorry, but I mean, she's always acted like Queen Bee, and the world begins and ends with Elizabeth May. So, I mean, I don't know what she's talking about. Maybe the fact that it's somebody extremely melanated who's standing in her power and making decisions and being firm, not wishy-washy and sort of, following where the wind blows and looking at polls and, trying to, win a popularity contest, right? So,
well, go ahead.
And interestingly, how much in that article does Elizabeth May own any of what happened? How many white people in that Green Party leadership have you heard or read about who are owning the fact that their popular vote, it went from 6.55 in 2019 to 2.32. How many of the white people in that Green Party national leadership are owning that? Zero. None of them. Because I'm sure there were a lot of Black people who were willing to even vote for the first time, vote just because Annamie Paul was there and had brought them to the dance.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they started hearing about all the nastiness that they were up to and how they were about to trigger some leadership review, just as there was talk of an election about to be called, they were like, oh, hell no. I'm either not voting or voting for someone else, but not that.
Sure.
See how they do us? Black people are not stupid. They're not. They see how you treat one of us.
I think that it's also an interesting reflection at how Black women are treated in the political spectrum.
Yes.
Look at the story of Selena. Look at the story of a Leslyn Lewis. You get a message that black women in Canadian politics don't equal.
They ain't ready for us.
No.
And you know what's really interesting? People like Elizabeth May and all those kind of white women are looking across the border and they are praising Stacey Abrams. they're all girl fans of Stacey Abrams. Have you heard Stacey Abrams speak? Have you watched her career? Have you seen how she goes about things? That sister don't play. She don't play. All of this being Miss Nice, and no, she's got a job to do. This is what's happening, people. Let's go.
So then, Sarah, let me ask you, where do you feel a Black woman in politics has more of a challenge, from white men or white women?
White women.
Why?
We're a threat. We're a threat because we go in there and we occupy the feminist space to which they have felt entitled this entire time. Even when we were fighting alongside them, pushed to the back behind them, half the time we were doing that heavy lifting on our hands and knees to make sure all women, because when Black women fight for everybody. They fight for everybody, okay? Indigenous women, South Asian women, everybody, okay? And so seeing a bunch of us coming in, and we're melanated, so there's the racial space too. Oh my gosh. We're taking up way too much space. We need to move over a bit more into our lane. Which lane is that, madam? Which lane is that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ceasar, any additional comments?
My only additional comment would be to absolutely back Sister Sarah Onyango in terms of what she just said. The biggest hurdle for Black women comes in terms of white women. This is not some, and I mean, I am a man saying it. I did do gender studies in university, just to reassure anyone. But this goes back to the very notion of what happened during slavery and colonization. Yes, the white man, the Arab men were mean to everyone who was Black, absolutely. But there was a particular relationship of envy, domination, hatred, and possession. It's very important to understand the term of possession, aka how dare you try to rise above me and even think you are at my level. This is not some type of misogynistic or masochistic speech that I'm giving. This is actually proven even in gender studies and even in the very notion of feminism, which is the reason why we have Black feminism, Afrofeminism, the Combahee River Initiative, Sister Kimberly Crenshaw, Audre Lorde, and so many others who saw that white feminism was not the way for Black women. And this is not a debate on feminism, but the Elizabeth May and all these white women will climb the ladder, including Hillary Clinton. They are what I call the success stories of what feminism aimed to achieve. So when there is a Black woman who is coming up, aka that descendant of slaves, that descendant of colonization, that person who simply by her presence created discomfort by her skin color, and our sisters in the, I don't want to say the conservative in terms of tagging all conservatives, but I'm saying those who are in the far right movement, such as I mean, it's very good that I'm actually forgetting her name, but the sister in the US, oh my God, I'm forgetting her name, who rallies for Trump.
Candace Owens.
There you go. So, like I said, it's a good thing I'm forgetting her name. You see, I'm healthy. I'm healthy. so even the Candace Owens, who can basically be there, you know, for money and fame, pretending to be as whitewashed as they want, when they come into that room, the Black skin will evoke certain feelings that when it comes to power, when it comes to leadership, when it comes to addressing the real issues, I'm not talking about the stereotypical issues. I'm talking about the issues of power.
Sure.
There is that element about her Blackness simply because you're Black. And even worse, because you are a Black woman, that will make you either break or bring out your inner Harriet Tubman to stand up. At the end of the day, I agreed with a lot of things regarding Annamie Paul's speeches, leadership, But I always said it. A lot of what's happening to her is because she is that black woman. If she was a white woman, I'm not saying she would have been elected. That's not what I'm saying. But she would have been treated differently from within her own party, first of all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think it was the greatest strategic thing for her to run in the same riding again.
And against another black woman.
Well, not only that, it would take someone superb to beat Marcian. Right? That like just doing that, I said, no, why again? Why are you repeating the same thing again? And
Three times.
Yes, and finishing in 4th place this time. Right?
It's embarrassing. And it's embarrassing, but if I can also say something that we must not miss, and it's really sad because I'm saying this with all my Pan-Africanism and as a black and proud man, but politics, aside from skin color, the fact that she dropped half the percentage points of the Green Party, and that in reverse, what's his name? Mr. Trump of the North, Maxime Bernier, doubled his results.
Yeah.
That is a terrible blow, yes, to the Green Party, but ultimately, despite all the justifications, I don't want to say excuses, Black people tend to make too many excuses, and we tend to be seen when we explain ourselves as giving excuses. I'm not saying excuses. Despite all the justifications, she was the leader. So she has to be accountable for it. At the end of the day, kind of like Sarah was saying, if regarding the whole Israel-Palestine or whatever, in March or June, she had said, you know what, in light of everything that's happening, I am retiring. I'm going to run as independent. It will be a very different story. But because she was there till the very end, and again, it goes back to us talking about resilience. Sometimes you don't need and you shouldn't stick to the end. Sometimes you got to let go because it might just get worse. And this is exactly what has happened. At the end of the day, despite all the justifications that we can give for Annamie Paul, she was the leader of the Green Party in terms of what we could definitely say the worst possible election results.
Yeah.
That's politics.
Yep. So anything you want to add before we move on to our next one?
Good.
Okay. Good
There's
stuff.
other black women leaders I want to talk about.
Okay. Next up. This is a big first.
Yeah.
In Canada, there is a lady based in the Greater Toronto area. Her name is Ginelle Skerritt. She has been energetically, I was going to say, working to help Black Canadians right across this country for over 30 years. And was just announced last Thursday that she is now the new CEO for the Children's Aid Society in the York region, and York GTA region of Toronto. So York is a little bit north of Toronto, but this is the first time a Black person, male or female, has been appointed CEO of a Children's Aid Society. Now, let me give some background on this, folks. 40% of the children that are in the foster care system in the Greater Toronto area look like myself, Sarah, and Ceasar. And this is the first time someone has been appointed to this position. Groundbreaking, but also going to be a very uphill climb. So, Sarah, what do you have to say about this announcement?
Well, first of all, I love Ginelle Skerritt. So I am so biased right now. Like, I'm really biased. And apparently there are some very serious issues with the region's Children's Aid Society. You just mentioned the overrepresentation of, people of color, people from marginalized groups. Mm-hmm. And it's not just York region, it's everywhere.
It's
even
everywhere.
Here in the Outaouais and Ottawa, same issues, etc. One thing though is that given Ginelle's background, just like you said, and her intimate knowledge, having been an advocate for families, children, and youth, and having fought all this time to have their dignity respected, to advocate for their health and their growth, and for family development, and having fought for Black families, because that's one of the biggest threats to white supremacy, is the wholeness of the Black family unit. When I see the Black family unit, it's not just mom, dad, no. It's mom, dad, mom, dad, whatever iteration the family takes, and everybody around that family unit. That is a threat, because once you have healthy and whole Black families, you have healthy and whole Black communities who are then feeling empowered to take up space, take up their place, stand in their power, and empower themselves to be, and each other, to be the best versions of who they can be. And that is a threat to the status quo, and it is a threat to white supremacy, because once you have proliferation of these whole Black families and communities, oh, hello, we can't use those stereotypes anymore to justify the systemic racism around, oh, we need to go snatch them kids. By the way, all of those kids in the system, they are helping a whole bunch of people keep their jobs. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about how snatching up, Black men off the street, incarcerating them at a higher rate, snatching up the kids and putting them in the child welfare system at disproportionate rates, that keeps some people employed. Can we talk about that? There is no incentive to not do it from where I sit.
Ceasar, would you like to add on to the conversation?
Just putting it out there.
So I don't know if, Dr. Vibe knows this, but I am a director in child welfare. I am Eastern Ontario's Equity, Diversity, and Inclusivity Director.
Mm-hmm.
All my congratulations to our sister Ginelle Skerritt. If we can maybe share, I shared an article, so maybe if we can share it so that the listeners get to see that Sister Ginelle Skerritt wears her Black pride for all to see. She is definitely Afrocentric in her image, in her content. I've had the pleasure, the honor of listening to her, or having a training by her, and totally I support it. Those are the praises. Let's go realistic. Sister Sarah said it from the start. There is a profound problem of disproportionalities and disparities in terms of services and statistics regarding Black children, youth, and families in child welfare. Toronto is actually very famous for having had a case in which Toronto CAS had up to 40% of children in care being Black, while they represented less than 8% of the population. This is a classic textbook. It's in the manuals in terms of transformation and reformation of child welfare. However, I have to be further honest. York Region CAS was in the Toronto Star for a lot of issues that are mentioned throughout the institution. It is not exclusive to them, but they were in the Toronto Star regarding these type of issues. At the same time that I'm saying that, and it's really it's actually a continuation of Black leadership, but especially Black women in leadership position, AKA, and I'm not saying that, I'm not a superstitious person. I don't believe in, I don't believe in anything. But if we dare to be honest, when a Black woman, when a Black person, first of all, but especially when a Black woman is put in a position of leadership in a white institution, it has gotten very bad. But what many people don't realize is that that Black woman gets to be the scapegoat for if it gets worse, it'd be like, it's not us, it's that Black woman. You see, we're not racist. We put a Black woman to put in context for those living in the Ottawa area as I came back, who is the new general manager of OC Transpo? Renée Amilcar. For those who speak French, it sounds pretty Creole, aka Haitian, aka it's a black woman. And I think anyone who lives in the Ottawa Gatineau area knows about the failings of the OC Transpo, especially the
LRT. Yes.
And suddenly we see a black woman. Please don't get me wrong. I am not here to make people superstitious, and I'm definitely not here to say, as we just talked about Annamie Paul, that Sister Skerritt is going to fail, Sister Amilcar is going to fail. Absolutely not. But we cannot, we must not, we dare not be blind to so many coincidences. Please show me where a black woman has been put in leadership of a white institution where everything was green and everything was going great. And we're like, please take us to the next level. I don't know of any example. And I know many examples. I'm expected to know many examples. I'm a director in child welfare. I'm a regional director in child welfare. This is my institution. That's my first job. After being a husband and a father, of course. Let's make sure. But you see what I mean? So my sisters have my support. If there's anything I can do, my passion, my intelligence, my energy, my time, absolutely they have my support. But since integration has begun, there is a common pattern. Black leadership in white institutions, but especially black women leadership in white institutions, always come with a big trap right there for all to see.
Yeah. So since you spoke about Renée, Madame Amilcar, just so everybody knows, they didn't just pick anybody, okay? Just like in Ginelle's case, York Region picked somebody who knows the business, who knows what it's about, and who is likely to do a very serious job, right? So in this case, in OC Transpo here in the Ottawa Gatineau area, they chose an industrial engineer. Okay, she's an engineer, and she's the former director of Montreal's Société des Transports de Montréal. Transport. And I think after Toronto, the Montreal transit system is the biggest one. It's the biggest one. It's the busiest one. It's the most used by the most passengers on a daily basis, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so it's not like they just chose any old, let's get a black woman. Okay, and so she's also been in leadership before as the chair of the International Association of Public Transit, and has been recognized with an award for that. So she's got a track record of leadership. She's an actual engineer. I don't know if that Manconi guy who just left, if he's got an engineering background to know all the intricacies, etc. Okay, but like Ceasar said, poison gift. Her nomination, just to give you some context to Dr. Vi, her nomination is announced the week that there's a derailment on the LRT tracks. A derailment, it's indefinite. We don't know when we're getting our LRT back. It is messing up people. Yeah, we don't know.
What?
Know. It's derailed. And now they want to change the company that's in charge of the maintenance, because they've done such a wonderful job where we've had, service interruptions. I don't know how many. I can't even count the number.
So this is what this woman is walking into.
He is stepping right into that. So when Ceasar is telling you walking into a trap, or he's talking about a poison gift, Annamie Paul, poison gift, Ginelle Skerritt, poison gift, Renée Amilcar, poison gift. Again, see how they do. But like Ceasar said, what's going to be very, very important, and Black people out there listening, the powers that be in all those institutions, They need to know that our sisters got people. They need to know that those sisters got people who are taxpayers, people who are going to write letters, when they see that que nos sœurs là sont
funny
malmenées,
business going on, yes.
Exactly. People who are going to go in front of OC Transpo offices or York Region, whatever, and protest when they see there's some funny business going on or an attempt afoot to dislodge or derail someone like Ginelle. They need to know these sisters have people. And that's why they're able to mistreat them like that, because they're like, yeah, well, who's going to care? Nobody's going to react. It doesn't matter.
So just to add on what you're saying, sir, it's both of you incredible points that you've made. I was speaking with someone yesterday who's part of Ginelle's inner circle, and their message was to me, Doctor. He said to me, tell everybody from our community, we have to circle around her and protect her, because it's not going to be an easy road, especially the first year or two is not going to be an easy road. So his message to me and to everyone who's watching here is we have to support her, because for her to make the changes that are needed and necessary, we have to back her, because they're easy decisions for us, but it's not easy for decisions for the system.
You see, the thing we have to understand is this. Those challenges are great opportunities. Yeah. We have to be honest about this. Even if you remove the factor of being Black, any person, if you get something crumbling, whether it be a stock of a company or an institution, or even just helping someone that or don't know was crumbling, and you help this or that person rise back up to be to something respectable, to be, passing so many green lights, it's a success to you, absolutely. The thing is that we're not here speaking just in terms of Ginelle, Renée, Annamie. We're speaking as a whole in terms of who they're connected to. The very nature of systemic racism makes it that for the dominant identity, so here in the Western world, we're talking about white people, but we could talk about Arabs, Aryans, and Han Chinese, but it makes it that, hey, look, we're not racist. We got a Black person in this position, aka we gave this position to a Black person. Let's be careful. That Black person, especially when it is a Black woman, has to be extra competent to deserve it. I didn't say give it to get it. I didn't say they're just working on the desk and then, hey, by the way, you're the new manager now. Because you have the right last name. No, none of us Black people have the right last name. Each one of us Black people have to earn a position hardly. Sarah Onyango does not just happen to be a journalist for so many years. Dr. Vibe doesn't just happen to be at the position he is at.
Truth.
I don't happen to just be where I'm at. Look what is making sure that so many people can see us, and BIA Media don't just happen. There is a lot of hard work and merit for us as Black people. And I'm not one to victimize and always scream racism left and right, but these are facts. But as such, one of the things that happen, the gift of the talent that we have becomes a poison gift when we are given such opportunities, because our success too often becomes individual. We get reminded that we are exceptional. Excuse my language, but this is actually academic language here. The exceptional Negro is an academic concept, aka you are outstanding to your community. But shall you dare fail, you are just like the rest of your community. All of you cannot succeed, cannot assume leadership. You are not meant to lead. You go to high schools, speak to the Black students, speak to the white students. When you say leadership, they're not thinking about a Black person. At the most, they'll tell you Obama. You see what I mean? So it's a poison gift. They have our support. They can absolutely do it. When we talk about children's societies, the OACS, the Ontario Association of Children and Societies right now is under leadership of its first Black female CEO in the person of Nicole Bonney.
Yep.
Look up in the Toronto Star how was her first year.
I know. I remember having some conversations, and this is unfortunate. I'm hearing too many stories like that from Black women who are being put in these positions. Like even up to last week, I was speaking with a lady who was doing D&I for a company. She almost was in tears explaining what it was like. She left.
Absolutely.
She left because she was put in a position. She has no support. They say basically, okay, go ahead and you change it. At the end of the day, the powers that be wouldn't let her do what needed to be done. So she left, and I'm hearing that story. I hear that story repeatedly.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? Here's where we come in again. Those institutions need to know that our sisters got people. Our people got people. Especially when those institutions are funded by our tax dollars, you know, whether they're crown agencies, government departments, or whatever. Before we run out of time, I'd like to bring up my girl, Rachel Décoste. Okay. Rachel was just named Director, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the National Film Board of Canada, which has been really sort of a bastion of keeping it quite white, keeping it very, very white, and Anglo and white Franco-centric. So what is Rachel going to be doing at the National Film Board? So she's going to be a strategic diversity leader, a subject matter expert, a change agent, and a lead advisor to the NFB in support of their diversity, equity, and inclusion goals and objectives, and organization-wide. It's not just this, you know, this branch or whatever of the National Film Board. And for those of you who don't know what the hell the National Film Board does, well, they're supposed to produce cinema and documentaries,
content creators
that reflect Canada back to Canada,
to
the world.
The goal, to a Canadian and global audience, yeah.
Yeah, and until, you know, a few decades ago, and the National Film Board's been around for quite a few decades, and until quite recently, it was all, you know, white Canada, left, right, and center. And then as they were having all these different reckoning moments, oh, let's do something on Africville. Oh, well, let's have a little bit of funding for something on Chinese immigrants in BC. And also as the population grew, and as different non-white communities sort of started taking up space, they started realizing that, oh, okay, well, we're having all this competition from other film producing, because they have to justify why government money they have to keep getting government money. If they're not fulfilling their mandate of reflecting,
they get cut off.
Exactly. Or they get people complaining, like the Conservatives have been doing with CBC, about how, well, they're not doing their job anyway, cut off the money. They don't need, you know, that $1 billion, et cetera, et cetera. So in Rachel's case, Rachel is French speaking. She's bilingual, but she's French speaking. And she has often been very vocal in Quebec media, Radio Canada, etc., about, you know, the whole use of blackface in Quebec television, all this use of the word nègre, you know, in jokes, etc., in the bye-bye, and all kinds of, she's like taken on what we call in Quebec the vaches sacrées, like the sacred cows, like bye-bye, and people like Veronique Cloutier and the husband of Morissette and all these people, right? And apparently some of our Quebec journalists, the white ones, of course, it's always them, and Francophone, not Anglophone, the Francophones, decided as soon as they heard this, boom, they jumped on it, and they were all about, oh, have you read her tweets? She was the one that was praising people doing the book burning. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
There was a school.
Providence School Council.
Yeah, and it had to do with, you know, the indigenous, the portrayal of indigenous communities, etc. And this was in the lead up to reconciliation, to the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation that we just had. And so these two columnists in this one paper that is known to be anti-Black and very racist, they went on there and they were like, oh, and all they could find to criticize about her was that she tweeted that stuff. They didn't look at her entire body of work and all the different clients she's had and different organizations she's advised, what she's contributed to promoting Canadian Black history, not just Black history, Canadian. They didn't talk about that because they're not interested about that. They're just really pissed off. Oh, now they've put this Black lady at the National Film Board, so we're not going to get our white Québécois, blah, 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 you know, talking about how great we are or how much of a victim we are, so that our victim status is more important than everybody else's victim status, and systemic racism doesn't exist because the only people who've been maligned are us, white, de souche, Perlin, whatever. So again, those people, they need to know Rachel's got people.
Well, it's our responsibility to support.
But on the French side, though, unlike on the English side, they have no qualms and they don't care. They're very naked about their anti-Black racism. They really don't. They don't care.
Well, we
on the French side, they don't care.
Well, our role is to support and circle them with love and support, because it's not going to be easy at all.
Yeah, and call it out. Call it out.
Absolutely. You know, Ceasar, anything you want to add before we start winding it down?
No, really. It's just the state of what it is. At the end of the day, any Black person who attains a position of leadership, but even just in any type of workplace, any Black person, especially if you are a woman, I'm not telling women what to do, but I am a Black man in leadership. I am a Black man who trains senior leaders. I'm actually training this week coming. I'm starting to train a new group of senior leaders. Dare to be Black. Don't hold back. You don't need to walk with both fists in the air, but you need to have your fists in the air. Speak truly, even as you have your hand open to shake hands. You are more protected by being true to yourself than wearing a mask to fit in. We're looking at the screen right now. Sister Sarah Onyango is wearing her Africanness on her in the same way that I am a Pan-Africanist, what doesn't give you a choice, especially with Zoom and all that. All my trainings, all my conferences, you see the same painting in the back. So it doesn't matter whether there's one Black or one white person on the screen, or even there's 100 of them. You know I'm being genuine. You know I'm being authentic. You know, in my speech, in my actions, in my way of mind. You see, it's one of the great failings of Black communities in terms of integration. We are scared to dare to be true to ourselves because we so badly want to be accepted into other people's home. And yet, if we are honest, that white kid was trying to be a rapper, or that Jewish kid was trying to be a basketball player, or that Asian kid who is sagging his pants, they're not respected in the communities. They're seen as they're trying to be Black. We looked at as being inferior. We don't need to do this mask wearing, as Frantz Fanon talked about, to be accepted. We dare to be Black. We dare to be professional. We dare to become experts. We dare to be people who are resilient, but who can also ask for help. And people who are always to know that we have a community of support around us. That's what will make the difference. That's what will make it that, as I remind people, and I'm saying it again, I know some people get tired of hearing it, but this must be something like a light bulb in the psyche of Black people. A certain female Black leader, aka Annamie Paul, kept being referenced to as first Black Jewish leader.
Mm.
At no point the Jewish community stood up for her.
Never.
I'm not blaming them, but that should be something for Black people to understand.
You need to know the game of politics and corporate
absolutely.
world. If you don't, you can't play checkers when you need to know how to play chess.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
At the end of the day, no matter how much herself she said, Jewish identity, Jewish this, Jewish that, she was treated as a Black person.
Because what did they see first?
There you go.
Right. Well, folks, we are done for today. Sarah, do you have any final comments?
Yes, I do. I want to congratulate the 8 Black MPs we are getting in Ottawa. Matthew Hamilton, my own member of Parliament, Greg Fergus, the chair of the Black Parliamentary Caucus, Ariel Kayabaga, the first Burundian Canadian ever in the House of Commons, Michael Cotto, who will now be in Ottawa after being at Queen's Park.
I knew Michael before he even got into politics. I've known him.
Emmanuel Dubourg, who is back again. He's a long time MP. Marcy Ian is coming back as well. Ahmed Hussein is coming back as well. And Leslyn Lewis, who is coming to Ottawa for the first time. And I don't know, they ain't ready especially for my 3 Black sisters. They ain't ready because those are 3 Black women with very strong opinions, ideas, and who are going to Ottawa to do something. They're not going there to just be an adornment, right? It's not performative in their case. Unlike somebody who went to Tofino. Did you want to talk about that, Ceasar?
No. No. Let's save that one, please. Let's save that one. Mm-hmm. Well, folks, it's always good to have people who are smarter than me, who look like
Thanks
me.
for having me.
It's always Sarah. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, Black on Black 891 at hotmail.com. And Black on Black airs every Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon on CHUO 89.1 FM.
Wonderful. Ceasar?
Yes, if I could just say one little word.
Sure.
My dear brothers and sisters in the Black community, but as well in all communities, just a quick message. I'm not going to give the names, but those who live in the Ottawa Gatineau have heard the case. No matter the dispute in your couple between spouses, never take your anger in violence towards your spouse, man or woman, especially do not kill your children. We had a terrible situation that happened in
right
the
here
Ottawa,
in Aylmer.
In Aylmer, yes, we had a terrible situation that happened where a Black father killed both of his children in revenge to his wife. It is never accepted, just as it is never acceptable, if I bring it to a celebrity level, that we stay silent when we know one of our people is hurting, raping, and committing sexual or any type of crime upon our younger, more vulnerable people. For those who don't get it, I'm talking about R. Kelly. It has been known since 1994. I and many other brothers, sisters included, of course, but I'm speaking of brothers because too often people think Black men are being silent. We have been denouncing R. Kelly for years. Let us stop being silent. This is not called snitching. We are not criminals to not snitch. We have to speak. I've read the testimonies of also sisters, Black women, young and old, abused by not just pastors, but also other people in positions of authority, and they're scared of speaking. Dare to speak up, dare to ask for help, dare to heal, dare to invest on yourself to protect those who are weaker, those who are more vulnerable, those who are too afraid to speak. You can reach me, Ceasar Ndema-Moussa, at rootsandculturecanada.com, just as on Facebook, Ceasar Remy, Rimy. I am not blocked, Mr. Zuckerberg. I'm still there doing my thing.
Thank you so much, Ceasar, for the great commentary at the end, and fully agreed. And there's so much trauma going on in the Black community that that's a whole conversation in itself. We'll leave it at that, and thank you for those last words, both of you. My name is Dr. Vibe. I'm host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also host the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. That is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by DAD Central Canada's national fatherhood organization. And that collaboration has allowed me to directly or indirectly, or give me the opportunity, to reach out directly or indirectly to over 75,000 fathers around the world this year. And also, I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that highlights Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, drink, and culture. As always, I like to close out with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And thank you to BIA Media for another great production. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good. Bye, everybody.